All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Helm Weekly Developer Call on Thursday, February the 8th. The call follows the CNCF Code of Conduct, so please keep it polite. And if you don't want to be, the meeting has been recorded, so if you don't want to be recorded, please hide your camera, turn off your camera, or drop off. Or please don't drop off. But now I've said the start. Let's get into the agenda. I've shared the link in the chat for today's agenda. And first up, I will share the right thing. So first up, we have an announcement from Matt.
Yeah, it's just a heads up that 3.14.1 will come out next week on Wednesday.
Cool. On that subject, I guess we can move on since I have the next discussion, an earlier discussion item. Before we do this, actually we have some new faces, I think. Or at least people I don't recognize. We have Yarden and we have Joe. If you guys want to say hello and introduce yourself.
Hi, just interested in Helm in general, and I also have a pull request I've been wanting some attention on, if it's reasonable to bring it up here.
No, it's great to bring it up. That's the squeaky wheel gets the grease is unfortunately often how it works. If you have the pull request link, we can discuss it if you want to drop it in the Zoom chat, or there's the doc. Generally, anonymous people can add suggestions which can be accepted to add to the agenda. And also welcome. And Joe, if you...
Oh, sure. I guess I'll introduce myself, although I think some people here probably already know me.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, I've just been hanging around the Helm community for about 6-7 years now. I'm actually kind of coming back into a more active phase because I was working at HashiCorp, where Helm itself wasn't part of my day-to-day, although Kubernetes was. And I just recently changed jobs. So now that I'm going to be working at a company called Platform 9, part of my actual job now is to get back into a tighter integration with Helm and Kubernetes and a lot of the open source communities that I'm already part of.
Yeah, awesome.
Welcome back, Joe.
Yeah.
It's always good to be back, you know? It's a bunch of cool people that I always enjoy talking to.
Oh yeah, well thank you for coming back. I guess I apologize if I am not familiar, but yeah, thank you. So how about we discuss Yarden's item first? Whoops, I messed it up. So
I can give some context if you want.
Thank you.
So it's essentially a pull request to cache the index files after they are parsed. What I saw is that most of the work in Helm dependency update goes to parsing the YAML files that are the index YAML files. So the initial pull request simply added a map in memory and makes sure that we don't parse the same YAML twice. I have a request here from Matt Farina. He said that this is okay for Helm as a CLI, but as Helm is an SDK as well, it's not good to just have the cache grow and grow because that's wrong in long-running processes. So I just wanted to know how to proceed here. I suggested to either make this opt-in or like just cache by the content of the file and not the name of it, and also use some sort of cache library that can limit the size of the cache.
Okay, so let me go take a look at that. I'm the one who made the comment, so I will go take a look at it. I can do it actually after this meeting. So I've opened the tab and I will do it after this meeting and go take a look at your proposal there.
Thanks.
I guess
Um,
just to mention, we have another PR open in the same space for a long time, about Helm dependency update performance improvement, whereby we're downloading the dependencies multiple times. So we already have a PR open there for the last long time. That will make that more performant, which
Can you share me do you know the link to that one or the number for that one offhand?
Yeah, it's 11726.
All right.
I would say one other thing, Yard, in this space is that there was a PR which allows the index to be represented as JSON. So if I remember correctly, the behavior is it downloads the index, it checks the first byte or few bytes to see if it looks like a JSON document, and then if it looks like a JSON document, it uses JSON to pass the index and then falls back to YAML. And if I remember, there was a significant performance improvement for passing JSON versus YAML.
Yeah.
So that may be worth looking at as well.
Yeah, another
Yeah.
thing I saw is like if you replace, if you move to OCI dependencies, if all of your OCI dependencies instead of index YAML, then that's really, really quick because you don't need to parse the index YAML.
Yes. Yeah, you're right about that. The index.yaml change where it does the few bytes, because the way YAML is supersetted JSON, it even works all the way back through Helm 3.0.0 and probably the pre-releases and everything. So you can do that, but parsing a YAML document, because there are anchors in it to things elsewhere, you can't parse it as a stream, and it's far more. It just takes a lot more work, and there are a lot more memory allocations. JSON's just so much easier to parse and faster and lower memory footprint. Looking into the JSON may save you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I opened up both of those, and I'm gonna carve out time today to work on Helm stuff. So I will look at both of those issues as part of this today.
Cool.
So let me go to ends. Do you want to give us some context, Arian?
Yeah, I just thought I would throw this one on. Just a couple of issues that I ran into, during the last couple of weeks that I thought maybe could use some visibility on this call. This one is, I guess someone's looking at, and the reason I put this one on the list is because I've run into this myself, like accidentally running old versions of dependent Helm charts, and they're saying, hey, maybe we should add a flag to actually validate it. And I guess that's what we'd have to do to maintain backwards compatibility, although it kind of feels like it should be the default. Maybe that's like a Helm 4 thing where we add it as a flag now, and then later on say, hey, we're actually going to start enforcing this by default. But anyway, just thought I'd throw this on the radar because I think they're open to actually adding the feature, but wanted just some feedback that we would accept such a thing. So, and I said, hey, might be a good one to bring up on the call.
All right, so questions about this, right? What do they mean? So the chart.yaml file normally specifies something like a range, right? If I say, dependency 1.2.3 and that exact version's there, it will pull it. But if I just say 1.2, that's now specifying a range, and you end up with the actual version in the chart lock file, right? If Helm doesn't have a chart lock file, then it's essentially going to recalculate what the version is. So if it's 1.2 and there's a newer version, 0.4, it's going to grab that if you go ahead and do something. But it always uses, that's, when you're updating dependencies, when you do an install or a template, it uses whatever blob is in the charts folder, because you may step outside of that, dependency management. In fact, Helm has the ability for me to stick random charts in there without putting them in the dependency section where Helm can manage and pull them off. And Helm will keep those when you do Helm dependency update. If you've got some that are managed and some that are unmanaged, it'll keep the unmanaged ones around and not touch them when it does updates and things like that. And so that's considered a feature. So the question here is where is the mismatch? If somebody updated manually something in the charts folder?
Yeah, I think that's
it?
what they're what the situation they're running into is that they unexpectedly ran into installing old charts, which I've actually done before, right? Where I've like updated a version and then didn't do the Helm dependency update, and that's what made me go, oh, maybe even a warning or something would be good here, which may not require like a backwards.
So how would you warn it? So you update your, well, let's walk through an example here, just so I understand. You've got a chart YAML, it says version, walk me through an example of how you would update it and then what you'd expect, just so I can picture it.
Yeah. I guess what I'm thinking is like you do Helm install in a folder that has a dependency that if Helm dependency list throws an error and says it's out of sync, that Helm install would also warn you that you're installing a chart that doesn't match what's in your lock file.
Okay. That that makes sense.
I guess, yeah, when I read this issue, and I think maybe now a warning would be better. Like the biggest part that I saw as a problem with like what he's kind of asking for here is enabling a flag. I feel like no one's going to do. And so it won't get, that code path won't get executed much, but a warning might actually be quite useful.
Yes. Yeah, a warning might be useful here as a first start. And then we could do something in Helm 4, or we can add a flag that turns that warning into an error. So we could give a warning and we can say, if you want this to be an error instead of a warning, use this flag. And that sounds like a good opt-in. And then in something like Helm 4, we could make that the default. But with a warning, that's totally fine. And adding a flag that bails and turns it into an error so it doesn't, that's also fine.
Cool. I can provide him that feedback.
Thanks. This makes more sense now. Okay.
Yep.
So I was just writing this down. Warning into error. Whoops, where's my... Okay. So I will go to this one because this one here was the one we discussed last week.
Oh, did we already? Okay, I didn't know. I missed last week, so we can take that one off then if that's already been discussed. I'll just delete.
Oh no, I'm saying this is an extension of what we discussed last week. My issue.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm moving forward. Sorry, I should have said more explicitly. Unless you've got something else you want to discuss for the dependency version checking issue. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I created this PR to, if we remember last week, for context, JFrog. Sorry, I'll get the full issue if I remember the right one. So JFrog doesn't produce dependencies with aliases in the index in the chart.yaml is embedded in the index.yaml for a repository. Effectively, it skips them and makes them look like this. This PR introduced validation, which is pretty simple, quite reasonable, that if you don't have either distinct dependencies or names for your charts, then it'll spit out this error. The problem for this index loading case is it appears to me that indexes don't care about duplicated chart names for that logic. And of course, if your artifact registry repository doesn't do the right thing, then you're gonna get this error all over the place for every chart with the dependencies, and then also in the chart loading code, it just drops those from and continues loading index, so you get like a whole series of bad behaviors. So the conclusion last week was that we should revert to the old behavior for Helm because it's broken a bunch of workflows. So if we keep that conclusion, I think there's three options. One is to revert this PR. The problem with reverting this PR is that if you don't have distinct aliases when you've got dependencies the same, then you end up with a bunch of weird behavior later on, and that's also kind of bad. So I think we should try and keep this PR in some form. The second option is to kind of do what I did here, which is kind of a hack where I just add a function which checks the error string and ignores this error. I don't really like this because I don't like checking error strings, but it's kind of brittle. But the third option would be to go into this chart validation logic and kind of say, well, chart validation needs some sort of like class where you can say what sort of validations you want, and it would be a much bigger change. So that's why I did option 2, because it was kind of simple and direct. But if we think we should go to option 3 and not add this hack, then that's why I raise it here.
Okay. I'll take a look at it and think it through. And if somebody else has ideas on this, please jump in.
I would say we should consider whether this should go into, like a solution should go into 14.1, 3.14.1, or we could wait until the next patch release. The solution for folks is just to hold back on Helm 3.13 if they're using JFrog. But yeah, it's, I don't know. once yeah, if anybody has any ideas, then
and if we don't get a fix out here, then it'll wait till, you know, March. So we can, yeah, well, we can take a look at it and see. And then if not, it just gets pushed out to March, and we'll just have people on older versions till then. Bugs like this happen, and hopefully we can get a fix out soon.
perfect. All right. We had one more thing from Ian. If you want to.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So this was an interesting issue that came up. I'm sure it's come up before, but this person actually went and created a PR to fix it, or to at least have an alternate mechanism, which is if you want to do a rollback on Helm, it executes the hooks from the previous version. And in this case, they want to like have hooks that will like remove database columns from a database that, you know, that the previous version didn't even know existed, right? So as part of the rollback, they want to actually use knowledge that only the latest release has. Seems like a really sensible PR to me. Just thought I'd throw a little bit of visibility on it. I asked him for an extra test that actually made sure that the right hooks were running, and he went ahead and put that in. So this looks like a pretty good one to me. I've actually kind of wondered if it should be the default behavior, like another Helm 4 thing potentially, like that the hook should run from the not from the destination, but the source charts, right? From where you're rolling back from instead of to. But
yeah.
I was gonna say my initial thought is that once you start looking at all this hook behavior, it gets pretty complicated, and my senses are saying like if you look at this one issue in isolation, it seems like a pretty reasonable behavior. But it's very like I feel like sometimes the project struggled with adding these features to fix one issue, and then it's caused strange side effects in other areas. I would be tending towards saying like a hip would be reasonable for this sort of change. I don't know. Other thoughts?
what are you thinking
Well,
would need to be
I
addressed
don't know
in a
that.
hip, I guess?
Yeah, and I don't know that it should be the default behavior in Helm 4. I mean, we can discuss it when we get around to Helm 4, because there's a lot of implications to this. Then doesn't just do internal cleanup, but changes a more fundamental behavior that might be a gotcha for people, right? They expect something different, and now this is one of those things that I don't know. We need to have a justification for switching it to just using the newer hooks, because that has, you know, an indication on install and upgrade. There's a bunch of hooks.
Yeah.
But
Actually, it could make sense for the chart maintainer to give you some sort of hint of which one they want executed.
yeah, but that's a whole design thing we should deal with when we get to Helm 4. Yeah.
So yeah, that was it. I guess if we want to send them through the HIP procedure, we can ask, or otherwise, you know, I think this PR looks pretty good.
Well,
So
it's-
This PR looks okay to me. I haven't looked at the content, but the idea looks okay to me.
okay.
So I had one more thing on the list to discuss, and that's would it be possible to get triage maintainers added as the ability to give triage maintainers the ability to kick off PR tests on PRs so that we can turn them green and or see if they have test issues?
I can look into that. I don't know the answer to that, what it gives us the ability to do, but I can go ahead and take a look and see if GitHub gives us the permission to do that.
Okay, cool.
I see. We didn't get to Evan's one at the top of the list here either.
Oh, sorry, Evans. We've got 5 minutes, so do you have a chance to? Yeah, let's give. If we can go quickly, Evans. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. It's a quick one. Just it's more of a procedure kind of question. I've noticed. So I was doing some review last week, looking at some PRs and issues in the backlog, and I saw some related. So far I've collected this, which issues which are related to certificates, HTTPS, self-signed certs, and so it's in the same space of securing connections and choosing what parameters to pass in. So I was just wondering what's a procedure in sort of getting this, create one umbrella issue, then look at that, or just address one each, or so how does it work? And any guidance on sort of addressing this kind of related issues is welcome.
Well, welcome, Evans. What I would say here is it's going to depend on probably where the issue shows up. Is it in OCI? Is it in communicating with Kubernetes? Is it in dealing with Helm repositories? Because each of those is really very separate code, because you're communicating with something wholly different that works differently, right? Communicating with Kubernetes, under the hood, we use Kubernetes client libraries. Communicating with OCI, it's got its own spec for communication. We use a library for that. Each of these has their own way of doing things. And so there may be a way when things are grouped together to do something around it, if they work together, but otherwise it's probably pick one off and work on it and dig into it, because a number of these things are in separate systems. I do know that there are several problems or issues around the OCI work. And the person who knows the most about that, Andrew, isn't here today. He might actually have some guidance if it's OCI ones, because he's been tracking that work and has a deeper insight than I do on it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So this was a back. I noticed this when I was looking at one PR here. Sorry, I just thought I'd bring this in here. Where is this?
Please.
PR, and that's where I noticed it. So the code base is similar. So well, the code base is the same with regards to setting up what parameters are used to encrypt a connection, not for Kubernetes but for the OCI and regular registries. So the code base is the same. And then that led me to looking into similar related issues. And
okay,
these are somewhat related. The symptoms are quite similar. I mean, I could dig into this, and so just wanted guidance on, do you flash a doc, create an issue, and then just sort of give a proposal, work on it? How how do you work through this?
Yeah, if it's normally a bug, which I suspect a number of these are, we just create an issue for it and have a proposal. And if you want to go work on it, you can create a pull request and we can give guidance on it. I would say if you have a pull request, any guidance, come back to the meeting with a pull request. You'll see there's a lot of things going on, and sometimes we're not the best at getting to something in the issue queue or the PR reviews. So if you want to make sure you really get feedback from us, come bug us here.
Cool. All right then.
Thank you. Thank you, Evan. Sorry for missing you at the top. I will say we're pretty much at time. So unless someone has a very fast shout out, we will go to assignments. Someone want to volunteer to moderate notes, issue triage, PR, JSTAT PR review. He said in Zoom chat he had to drop off, but thank you, Joe, in absence. I can moderate again.
You could put me down for notes.
I believe I should be here next week if you want me to moderate as well. So it's up to you, George.
We'll take turns. I'll do issue triage and how does that sound?
Good. All right.
Cool. All right. Thank you, everyone. We're at time. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next week.
Good.
Bye.
See y'all. Bye.
Thank you.